As a part of our Time to Talk event, a group of us decided we would focus on individuals that inspire others. A number of sports people have done a lot to achieve a positive change throughout the coronavirus pandemic, and we were lucky enough to catch up with a few of them to discuss what they have done. Mental health is a big issue in sports and outside of sports. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. Some individuals have a stronger hold over their mental health than others, and consequently, some people see no other way out than to even take their own life. Suicide still remains as the single biggest killer of men under the age of 45 in the UK. One sports example that stands out the most is Gary Speed. He struggled with his mental health and unfortunately took his own life. Someone who knew him quite closely was Kendall. He is an ex-player and current football coach at the University of South Wales. To help raise awareness for mental health and suicide in men and women, Lee decided to walk 40 miles at age 40 in just one day. Harrison and Gerren were able to catch up with Lee, and this is how it went.
Hello guys, welcome. Me and Gerren are joined by Kendall. Lee recently raised an amazing amount of money, raising £3,511 for Mind Charity, which is all about raising awareness for mental health and suicide. And he did this by walking 40 miles in one day. First of all, Lee, congratulations on raising an amazing amount of money. What's the reason behind the walk?
Oh, thanks for having me on, guys. More importantly, I think it's just around the sort of, as you mentioned, just raising awareness really for people with mental health, anxiety, depression, and obviously the effects of that can potentially lead to suicide. And suicide has touched so many people's lives. Or you've known someone that potentially might have done it, or a family member, etc. And unfortunately for myself and my family, it was something that was quite prominent in regards to losing my wife's brother through suicide post coming out of the army, and then losing a close friend in Chris Barker last year, who was a former colleague and player. And then in between that, obviously, as majority of football fans would know, in Wales, we lost Gary Speed, who I was fortunate to work for at Sheffield United and with the Welsh 21s when he was the manager of the first team. So really kind of coupling it up really with lockdown as well, because it's having so many effects on so many people, in regards to their mental health. And then really sort of linking it up to something that I started in July, really, probably on a bit of a bad time myself, really, in regards to, not probably coping with lockdown too well, and got out and started walking. And it was at the time where we were allowed to have a group of 5 people meet. And I just put it out there to see if anyone wanted to join me. And lucky enough, a few people did. Some people I knew, some people I didn't. And that group's continued when we've been allowed to, in and out of lockdown. So we walk every Sunday as a group, and just a bit of a walk and talk, just sort of try and get over sort of 10 miles if we can, to use it as a physical hit, to make sure we're burning the calories and refreshing the mind. But then obviously, with it being around my 40th birthday, someone messaged me and challenged me to do 40k, and I thought, well, that's a bit too easy. So I did 40 miles for my 40th birthday, which was great, and obviously it raised a huge amount of money, which was fantastic. And I'd just like to thank everyone for raising that and giving their donations. And hopefully it can go to some way to supporting the Mind charity, who's a fantastic charity and who's been doing a lot of work through lockdown in supporting people. So yeah, that was the story really.
As you mentioned there, you did the walk for Mind charity. How important do you think the work is that they are doing at the moment?
Oh, fantastic amount of work. I mean, I took part in a couple of challenges in lockdown, and I think there's a lot of people raising awareness through Mind charity. So the press up challenge, etc., and a lot of people were doing things to raise awareness. And I know that obviously I haven't spoken to Mind when I talked about potentially the walk going ahead. They let me know the kind of work that they're doing, and it's really supporting people who are struggling, and who potentially have someone who's struggling in their family and they don't know how to deal with it, and offering that advice and how you speak to people, and how you can support, and how you can offer a way to out really, and an outlet to speak to someone and support someone who's really dealing with some some serious issues and that need help. But also it might be just the start of something, and you might want to be someone who supports someone, and they help you as well. So yeah, fantastic charity, and I'm really pleased that I could do something just to help.
And obviously, 40 miles is a very long walk. How did you feel, like, before, during, after the walk?
Yeah, it was good actually, because a lot of support from my family, and obviously within the guidelines was obviously quite tough, because obviously we were in a lockdown, but we were allowed to exercise from your doorstep and back to your doorstep. So my wife helped me along the first sort of 12 miles, and then I kind of dug in on my own for a while, and then my daughter joined me, and it was a good sort of loop that I did, sort of a 10-mile loop, and ended up doing it obviously 4 times. Bit repetitive, seeing the same sort of things. Very cold. I think it was the coldest day of the year at the time, which helped. And then I found out what real blisters are about towards the end of it. So about 35 miles in, I just felt like I wasn't moving anywhere. And yeah, and when someone put it sort of on out there, that it was like walking from Cardiff to Swansea, I didn't really quite realise how far it was. So yeah, when they put it like that, it was quite an effort really, but all in the aid of a good charity, and I was just pleased to complete it. Sit down and have something to eat and have a beer.
As you've been saying, the whole walk and everything, doing it for the charity, how important would you say it is nowadays for people to open up when they think there's not much hope at the time?
Well, I just think it's quite a prominent thing at the moment with everything that the world is going through, and it's a difficult place in my opinion. I think especially as a male as well. I mean, I did it for both male and female mental health, but I think at times as a male as well, we're the people who are kind of hold back quite a lot as well, and that's not said that females don't, but together, with the work that everyone's doing at the moment, hopefully it's raising awareness for both parties, and it's just a matter of opening up really, and finding someone that, if you can talk to someone, then talk to someone. But then obviously with the work that Mind are doing, there is that opportunity to give them a call, and there's someone at the end of the line who's going to listen and help you and guide you in a way which will allow you to hopefully get better and put yourself in a positive frame of mind. And I think through walking, I think it's really important. I think that exercise is key in lockdown. We're allowed to exercise outside, and I think it's just getting out and sort of changing the rhythm of the day, and sometimes getting a bit of sun on your face, but not the moment with our weather in Wales. But getting a bit of rain on your head, and changing your location sometimes sort of just gives you a little bit of a boost. And I think the more that people can get out and exercise, the better really.
Yeah, well, thank you, Lee, for coming on. I mean, it's been great to talk to you, and well done on raising an amazing amount of money for a really good cause.
Thanks both, and really appreciate your time. Thank you.
A number of Welsh football teams have done a lot of charitable things throughout the coronavirus pandemic. Whilst the coronavirus meant the Football Association of Wales had to suspend football at all levels, this didn't stop the Welsh football community coming together to raise money for the NHS. Aberystwyth Town captain Mark launched a fundraiser in response to the pandemic and raised over £5,000. The money was split equally between Wales's 7 local health board charitable funds. As well as organising the fundraiser to help the NHS, Mark has also recently done a lot of charity work for the homeless within our community. Luke and Ben discussed his work further in a private interview.
Hi Mark, thank you for speaking to us today. And firstly, how are you and how have you found lockdown?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think the tier we're in now, it's a little bit more difficult, isn't it? Tier 4, and obviously no restaurants, cafes open, and I think it's a bit tedious for everyone at the moment. A few friends and family have found it a lot harder this time round. So yeah, it's kind of, we're hoping for better news in the next coming months, and hopefully we can get out of this.
obviously, thanks for joining us. Do you want to tell everyone a bit about yourself who may or may not know?
Yeah, well, at the moment, obviously, I play for Aberystwyth Football Club in the Welsh Prem, run my own sports business. So we're lucky enough to still be running through the lockdown and providing childcare. So, I'm one of the fortunate ones really at the moment where, I'm still in work. And along with that, I also head of education with Deal Me Out, which, is a company that promotes helps people in terms of gambling harm and gaming as well. So yeah, pretty busy myself at the minute, but I'm quite fortunate in that sense. But missing the football, and hopefully we can get back to that as soon as.
Obviously, you've done a lot of work during the pandemic for charity. I quite like to go sort of like in order. So can you tell us a bit about the fundraising idea that you had like with the NHS and how that went?
Yeah, initially it was, I think the first lockdown was, initially my business had stopped as well last March. And, it was a case of, looking after the kids at home and kind of twiddling my thumb really, like fingers, but thinking, what can I do? I was bored, and, they were long days, you're going out for the one walk a day. And yeah, I just thought, what can we do? Almost people are out there doing, amazing work in the pandemic, and, what could we give back? And it was a case of, I thought if Welsh football could come together and, kind of give something back to the NHS for the hard work they were going through. And, it had a great reaction, and, to get near £7,000 off everyone was amazing. And it, it wasn't just the Welsh Prem, it was, the Cymru North, the Cymru South, and, it came from not just players, it was the board members, it was fans, it was, managers, and, everyone really got behind it, which was great. And like I said, to hit near £7,000 and almost a thanks from Welsh football, the lower pyramid of Welsh football to the amazing work they had done.
And well, obviously you weren't actually able to play football at the start of the pandemic given the lockdown. So how do you think, what was your end goal when you first started really putting the charity work together? What was your end goal at the start? Obviously there's the raising money, but what was your motivation when you first started doing it?
I think it was one of the moments. I think, seeing what I've always been, like, I do quite a lot in the community naturally, and, with my sports business and my coaching and, playing local football, it's, I've always tried to give something back to the community. And I think it was a case of, I'm always on the go. I'm quite, I'm here, there and everywhere with my work. And it was almost, I had shut down and I was just at home. And like I said, it was great in terms of family time, but I'm one of them people that I can't really slow down. So it was like, what can I do? I felt a bit like people were out there doing their bit and doing these amazing things, and I was just at home. So that was the motivation. It was like, what difference can I make? What can I do in this pandemic? And I just thought, I spoke to Gwyn Derfel at the FAW and put the idea to him, and he said they'd get behind it. And I spoke to the other captains within the league, and they were a great help in terms of getting the message out to the players. And like I said, the reaction was great, and a lot of teams put a lot of donations in, and I was grateful for that. And I was just happy that we were able to raise so much money.
You also did a lot of work to help the homeless with charities such as Shelter. Would you like to talk to us a bit more about that as well?
Yeah, I mean, that was more recent. It was with the business, one of the places that we do use as a venue for our holiday camps, throughout the summer and Easter holidays, is a local community centre that there is a food bank there. So I think as we've worked there over the last 2 years, the coaches and myself, we've seen the amazing work that goes on within a food bank, and it's almost made us realise how fortunate we are, and that there's families out there that don't have anything, and watching constant supply of bags going out to the less fortunate, and that's not just people at the lower scale, that's middle class, that's even happening. That you've got you've got families who, they've been furloughed, they might not, they can't go to work, they've got 4 children, and, the food bank, like I say, the people in there, the volunteers, the work, and we can see that, we're using the facilities, but me and the coaches spoke, and we were just overwhelmed with what goes on. And I think until you see it, you don't really know what's going on. You kind of just look at your own life and think, well, I'm okay, and I do well, like, are you getting on well, or I've got food on the table and things, but you don't realize what other people are going through. And it was a real eye-opener. So we said if it was something we could do in terms of the homeless, because if people in the middle class were struggling, through the pandemic, it was almost like it had a knock-on effect to everyone. So the homeless, like we've seen, we went round and we looked more into it. There's a lot of homeless within Llandudno. I went walk around speaking to them on the streets, and even to the top at Happy Valley in Llandudno, where a lot of them do sleep. And it was just a case of what are they going through in this pandemic, how are they getting through it. And it was just like, if we could raise awareness for that was the main thing. The money was great, but I think the biggest motivation of that for me was the awareness that these homeless people are, you think what we're going through in COVID as adults and what the children are going through, and they're just sat on the street, and that's why I chose December. In terms of the coaches, I wanted them to do it where what it was actually it snowed as well. The car was frozen in the morning, so it was that cold. But the point of being in December was I wanted it to be cold. I wanted to feel how difficult it was, and we were lucky as coaches. We had each other. We had that camaraderie, and we were able to. We had technology in terms of playing a bit of music, and the jokes and the banner. It got us through the night, and I did a post the next day on my Facebook. I just don't know how they do that. I don't know. They're sat on their own. If you think of their mental health and the isolation of, it's just them in their mind, isn't it? So we were extremely fortunate we had each other, and that got us through the night. You don't sleep. We didn't go to sleep. You literally just lie there, and like I said, we were just music on and chatting. But the thought of doing something like that on your own, and we knew we were going home in the morning. We knew that we'd have food in the morning, we'd have hot water, and go back to our cozy beds the next night. They don't. So that was a real shock to how I felt waking up, getting up to go home in the morning, and shocked me to then how do they go through that again and again and again, and throughout the whole year. So to get £1,600 to shelter was great, and like I said, it was a lot to do. The awareness was good, and a lot of people have messaged and want to kind of get behind things like that in the future, so that's good. Yeah. There was actually one more thing. You'll like this one. This was one that wasn't organised by me, this one, but if during the pandemic, the guy I do, he does online workouts, and then I started doing personal training with him. It's Move and Burn Fitness, it is, but he was raising money for the Welsh Mountain Zoo. He did really well. It was in the Pioneer, so if you want to look at it more, but I think he raised over £2,000. But he did 10 days of so much running that dressed up as a tiger. So as his clients, we said, I'll do a day with you. So we did a day. So I think I had to do 13K with him, but I was dressed up as a penguin. He was a tiger, I was a penguin. But that type of, when you're raising money like that, it was, we ran along the prom. We'd come out of the initial lockdown, so people were out, but like people clapping you going through on the prom. It was just fun, and 13K in a penguin suit. I was a bit warm, especially when the head bit's there. But yeah, that was just something else. But that was obviously his idea. He did it, but yeah, it was good to get behind that as well. So I know there's a penguin outfit on my Facebook, but yeah, that was a good one. So.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna look that up after this.
Get the penguin outfit out. I look better as a penguin anyway.
But no, that's all the questions we wrote down. So that's great. Thank you for speaking to us.
No worries.
Finally, as a collective, we all found an organisation called Stonewall. This charitable organisation focuses on the LGBT community. Their mission is to let all lesbian, gay, bi and trans people here and abroad know they are not alone. Stonewall came up with an awareness scheme called Rainbow Laces. Stonewall set out to celebrate the impact that sport has on LGBT people and the impact that LGBT people have on sport. Following this, Stonewall have a list of ambassadors they have called Sport Champions. Sport Champions are standing up for inclusion for LGBT people within the sport. Ellie and Ben were joined by Jess Fishlock, Wales's most capped footballer. She also became the first player, male or female, to reach 100 caps. Whilst winning many things on the football field, Jess has been a role model for the LGBT community across the world and was recently awarded an MBE for her services to both football and the LGBT community.
Hello, Jess. How are you doing?
Oh, Ben, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How's life in lockdown at the moment?
I mean, I feel like I've literally been in lockdown for like 10,000 years. So I think it gets to be your new normal. Luckily for me, I actually I'm a little bit better off this way. So I'm all right. I'm all right in isolation.
So recently you've been involved in the charity Stonewall. And obviously, for those of you who don't know, Stonewall is the UK's leading LGBT equality charity that aims to let all lesbian, gay, bi and trans people know they're not alone. Stonewall empower LGBT people to be their authentic selves, enabling them to realise and achieve their full potential, and empower LGBT people and allies to create positive change. Stonewall recently had the campaign Rainbow Laces. And again, for people out there that don't know what Rainbow Laces is, it's a campaign set up by Stonewall, which distributed almost 1 million pairs of rainbow laces that was worn by athletes to promote the LGBT community. So how well do you think that campaign actually promoted LGBT in football? And from your standpoint, do you believe that was a successful campaign? Or like you said then, do you think it should have gone on a lot longer?
Yeah, look, the campaign up until this year, I've always thought has been, I don't want to say ineffective because that's the wrong word, but it has not been as effective as it could be. This year, I think, was the first year where clubs, Premier League players took responsibility for what the actual campaign represents. And that's where it changed my mindset on what can be done in the Premier League and in football, because as soon as those clubs and the individuals for those clubs, whether they be straight, gay, I mean, there's no one out gay, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. So my point is that as soon as those clubs and the players took responsibility for their campaign and made it personal and made it public for them, then the message and the campaign became so much stronger. And this was the first year that happened. And so now for me, it's kind of like, right, this is where we start now. And now we have to start from here. Because I feel like previous years, it's kind of just been, all right, yeah, we'll do that. But it wasn't really, they didn't take responsibility for it. But this year they did. And I thought that was, you know, just unbelievable and had such a big impact. And that was only the first year that happened. So I'm really excited for it to carry on now at this level at least, and then more over the next couple of years.
So do you think that the LGBT community is accepted within football, or do you still feel like there's still a long way to go? Both.
I feel that the LGBT community in women's football is a no-brainer. It's fine. It's so visible that it's, you know, it's hard to miss, really, which is great. In the men's game, not so much. I don't believe that there's no gay players in men's football, right? I believe that there is considerable amounts of them, right? Just via numbers and science and whatever. So do I think that it's not a safe place for them? No, of course it is, right? Because obviously they're there, they're playing. It's just, it's not public, it's not talked about, it's not knowledgeable. So we don't know anything. So it's very hard to, you know, talk about that because we just don't know. But do I think it's a safe enough place for people to come out publicly? No, I don't. And that is where I always have this kind of fight with people that are like, oh, just come out, like, you know, Jesus, just do it, like, we need you. That is so unfair. It is so unfair to put that amount of pressure and responsibility on another human being. And so I don't feel like we should do that. Our job is to make football and society safe enough that if a gay footballer decided to come out, then it wouldn't harm them. And we're just not there yet. We're just not. You see everything that goes on right now when United lose a game and the racism that comes out. People think that that's not going to happen if someone who happens to be gay misses a chance or whatever. That's the first thing that's going to happen, you know, and we're just not ready for that. We're just not. And it's not right to put that on somebody.
So obviously Stonewall's chief executive was thrilled to have you on board. One of the main reasons being was that you're so open about who you are and how inspiring you are to others. Has that always been the case for you? And if not, how did you overcome that?
No, it wasn't always the case for me at all. I think it took me a long time actually to just kind of be like, I don't care anymore. Basically got to that point of not really caring what other people thought or what people said, and didn't allow their kind of reactions to hurt me, you know, and ultimately just got to the point where my mindset was, well, it's just not me, it's them, it's their problem, you know, I haven't got time for that type thing. How I got there, it's a great question, you know. I think time, for one, and also leaving the UK and going to different countries and being a part of their culture helped tremendously. I remember I actually went to Holland, was my first country to play, and their culture and their kind of society made me feel far safer in the 2 years I was there than the UK society did, or Wales, you know. And that's not a slight on us as a society, but you know, are we the nicest? I don't actually think that we are. From going around the world, you know, we're just not. We have such a bad society, really. And so I think that really helped me, Ben, because I was able to find myself in a non kind of hateful environment. And then what I ended up doing was still being able to be that person when I came home. And that then just allowed me to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And, you know, I'm very lucky. I have a great family. They support me. My friends support me. You know, that's always helpful. So I just was really lucky, I guess, that was my kind of pathway, and that helped me just shape who I am, and also just accepting who I am and just not really taking much shit. You can beep that out.
Yeah.
Leave it in.
Yeah, leave it in.
Right. Yeah.
I'd just like to thank you very, very much for taking the time out of your day to speak to us. And we hope this interview can inspire others around the world and educate those about the LGBT community. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, your friend, right, that reached out. She probably had a shock as I messaged her.
Yeah, big shout out to Hayley as well.
Yeah, of course. No problem. Anytime.
Very much. Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No problem. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.
So that does bring an end to our section of Time to Talk Day. We hope you've all enjoyed. From myself, Ellie Harrison, Gerren, Ben, Luke and Ben. Bye.